If you have a consumer product and want to start 2025 with a bang, showcase your product by joining the Invent America team at ASD Market Week, happening in Las Vegas, March 9th through the 12th. Here are just some of the benefits of joining the Invent America team. The Invent America booth is the only innovation booth at the show. The ASD VP of Buyer Relations shops all the products with potential buyers. All inventors with the Invent America team are automatically included as a potential recipient of the Innovation Award. The winner gets $6,000 worth of free marketing. Take advantage of this opportunity and contact the Invent America team today by visiting inventamerica.info. That's inventamerica.info. Invent America, because America invents.
Broadcasting and streaming live all across America. This is Home Talk USA with Michael King, where we will discuss topics pertaining to your home with industry-leading experts. Michael King is a licensed general contractor with more than 30 years of experience in home improvements and the author of Contracting with the King. Join us this hour for our segment Invent America with your co-host, the Inventor Lady Rita Crompton. Discover what's next in the home improvement industry and explore new products and innovations. Or if you have that next great big idea, learn what it takes to bring your invention to the world as Michael King and Rita Crompton talk to America's inventors and innovators. Remember, the America of tomorrow is being invented today. We invite you to visit us at HomeTalkUSA.com, one of the best resources for home improvement information around today. Your best life begins with your best home, and there's no place like Home Talk. That's HomeTalkUSA.com. And now, we proudly present Invent America from the #1 home improvement radio program in the country, Home Talk USA, with your host, the Cajun contractor, Michael King, and his co-host, the Inventor Lady, Rita Crompton.
Yahee! Welcome to the Invent America show right here on the King's Broadcasting Network. And I'd like to welcome my sidekick, my partner in crime, the Inventor Lady herself, Miss Rita Crompton. Rita, welcome again. We have another hour to go. And I'm sorry, this is going to be our last broadcast of the year. And we've had some great topics and we've had some great information during the course of the year. And I'm excited and welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you. I know when you told me this, when you started out that conversation we had with, this is our last, and I said, wait a minute, what? And then you said, for this year. And I go, okay, there it is. Yeah. That's kind of normal. So yeah, but you did get my attention when you started with that.
Oh, yeah. That's my mental telepathy again. You know
I know, right? And so, I thought this was a fun topic to have this time of year because there's so many things going on in everybody's life. How do you focus? And so we've got some serious deadlines just for us between now and the end of the year that's coming in 2 weeks. But I know, when my inventors have got to say, well, I've got this idea. Well, I've got this idea. And so, focus. Focus. I always tell people you got to learn to filter and focus. And so that's what we try to do with this segment is how do you pick the good ones? And so our industry expert, David Streen, he's been there, done that, figured the things that he's going to say, no, we're not going to do this one, but let's focus on that. And so my first inventor that we've got today is kind of in that some really cool ideas. But you're like that. Oh my goodness, you're all over the place. You're catering, you're contracting, you're doing TV, how do you focus, Michael?
And I even give my finger for my, see my finger? See it? I even give my finger.
I see it. Nobody else can. So
yeah, I see my finger. So.
It's fully dressed, everyone.
You're right. And I need to tell you, and it goes back to the basics, Rita. And I know we talk about this and, I harp on it a lot. There's 3 things that you need to do. And when you have that idea in your head, it's just very simple. And, I talk to inventors. They might have 10 or 15 ideas at one time. There's no problem with that. Everybody says, why don't you focus on one? Hey, painters, I know real great painters that's got 10, 12 paintings going on at one time. But here's the key. You got to write it down. You got to put it on paper somehow. And if you don't put it on paper, I don't care. It ain't going from your head. It's gotta go. And look, you can have 10 or 15 pieces of paper out and say, I got this idea for this. I got this. That's fine. But you have to write it down on that piece of paper.
Oh, now, absolutely. Yeah. I carry a notebook with me everywhere, and I've got, pencils with duct tape around them, because I've got to have, those are my comfort zones. I've got to write it down when I've got an idea. When I remember I've got to call somebody, I've got to write it down. And so, I tell the inventors the same thing, write it down. Then, right. Take a look, see what you can find, and then, there's first steps. We've talked about a lot of different times and different ways with inventors. But that's you definitely.
But you have to, and I tell people, if you can think about it, but you can't write it down, it can't be done. Or you try to write it down, but you can't think about the process in your mind. It can be done. But hey, what the good news is? If you can think it and you can write it, guess what? It can be done.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. Well, I wish I could market that. I wish I could actually, had figure out how to literally market that. And
the thing is that if you can't think it and then write it down, you can't research it, because what do you put in to do the search?
Yeah.
It's not like, I'll think it and it will show up. It just doesn't quite work that way. You've got to be able to describe it.
And about 90% of your manufacturers or your prototype people, here's the good. That's right. I'm just thinking. Here's the good part about this. It don't have to be 100%.
No,
it don't have to be 100%. You can give them and say, "Look at this, what I've done." Well, guess what? A lot of these people have different departments of experts that can say, well, thank you. We could take it from here. We'll let it know. We're going to finish it up for you. This is what it's going to do. And that's when the experimental stage starts. And it's amazing. If you just follow that guideline, then the chance of you making a serious financial mistake, man, you probably cut your, I don't know what the numbers are. I never did that. I would say it's 75%. It has to be 75% that you can cut the expense of the mistakes of not following this process. And I've seen it too many times. Next year, we're going to be celebrating my 28th year on the air. 28 years.
Wow. We're
going to become the longest running show in radio history on the weekend. There's no show that's going to be longer run than us. Why is that? And and it's not because of me and my great knowledge and I'm an Einstein at 190 IQ. No, it's the people that we have on, that we take what they have and then we can give them that blueprint for success. And it's amazing. Hey, me and you talk about this all the time. Me and you try to figure out how we're going to pay our bills next month. And somehow we do, right?
Well, that's right.
We don't make nothing on this. That's amazing.
No, I had a gentleman call me this morning from Maryland, and he had heard about a product that we had on the show and, wanted to know, where can I buy this? And so I called the inventor and he goes, I'll send him one right now. Yeah. And so it's wonderful to see that, people have gotten there. But, this Dwayne is the inventor, and he's going to be at ASD Market Week with us and showing these exact products. And George, who's on today, is going to be at ASD with us, and David is going to be at ASD with us. This is where people then go once they, and George has got 3 products. David's got, I think, 3 or 4 that he's bringing to the show. And so, when we get inventors, when they're creative like that, it is not unusual that they'll have 3 or 4 ideas. And for, one of the guys, we did a search for him and he said, nope. He said, you did the search. You found exactly what I was doing. I'm moving on to my next idea. So sometimes it's like, he wrote it. He had beautiful pictures. And the funny thing is that the drawings that came back from the other patents we found were exactly like what he was doing. So it was good that he was able to write it down and draw it out, because he saved a ton of money by not trying to file and go to market with something that really was already out there. It was just in a different country and he didn't know it.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm getting off a track and we ain't got much time left, but I also got to mention to our audience, last week's show, I want to invite our listeners to listen to last week's show. I took heart to that show. And it was one of the best shows I've ever had in 27 years out of 1,117. And just to remind you what happened, if you were listening to last week's show, we were talking about patents. We were talking about how a person can get a patent in this country and have a political appeals by the U.S. government, sanctioned by the government, that can revoke somebody else's patent where a rich company could come in and just steal it. I'm blown away. I made a lot of calls on that. And I know we're getting ready to take a short break, and I don't want to go back to last week, but people need to listen to that broadcast because that has to change. We got to protect our people and their copyrights and their patents.
Absolutely.
And to have what this happened to this lady last week, man, it says it takes 72 hours to forget something, but I don't know. That show is embedded in my brain. And a lot of the politicians, man, they're not taking my calls right now because I did a prelim. Never tell them when you call them what you call them about.
That's probably a really good idea.
Lie. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
All right. Well, Rita, I'm sorry to bring that up, but I wanted to mention, I want them all to go back and listen to that last week's broadcast.
That's a big one. We'll have them on as
Many
speakers
times
at the meetings, and we'll have them on the radio show. We've already got the next one lined up for January. So we want everybody to, participate because this isn't just about the inventors. It's about protecting the process because you never know when your son, your father, your cousin might be, an inventor and need to have this process locked down and safe for everyone. So we are going to go pay some bills, Michael. I'm going to take over your role here and say, Everybody stick with us. We'll be right back with our first inventor.
Ça c'est le bon temps roulé. Let the good times roll. Ça c'est le bon.
I can't do that. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. Why? Because America invents, and we have been doing it for hundreds of years. So this segment is brought to you by Aztec Washer. It's the revolutionary and an innovative roofing product, and they have been doing this since 1968. So they know what they're doing. Seal it right, seal it tight. AztecWasher.com. And my first inventor today is George Butler. We always talk about, are you just an ex-rocket scientist? Well, yes, this one is an ex-rocket scientist. And he's got 3 different inventions. And we're taking at least 2 of them to ASD. So, George, thanks so much for being with us today. Your quick leash product for the dog walkers and your easy flag holder for I've got flags on my house. I love having a flag up on my house, but those are 2 really cool products. Tell our listeners a little bit about the products.
Okay, we'll start off with the what we call the Q leash, and it's a real simple new leash instead of a snap hook, which was designed back in 1890, and I believe it was patented in 1897, and that's the standard. And that patent has run out, and people use those everywhere. And I'm impressed by that particular product because it's everywhere, and everybody uses it. However, I had a little arthritis in my left hand or my right hand, and I went to pull that little slide thing back to undo my dog, and it really hurt. So that inspired me to come up with an idea that instead of taking your thumb and pulling it back like this, you could just squeeze. What am I doing? Okay. Where's my camera? Right there. Okay. You can just squeeze it and open it up and twist, and it's off. And there's a little bit more to it than the snap hook, but I've had a couple of companies look at it, and they've had some various reactions. The company in Germany, Flexi, thought it was, they didn't tell me what they didn't like about it, other than it didn't meet their needs. So you have to be perseverance. It is a virtue here. You got to believe in it and stay on it and try and find that person or that company that's going to follow through and want to buy your product, manufacture it, and sell it.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But how do you focus? I mean, you've got 3 different products. You've gotten to the point where you've got really nice, proof of concept prototypes. But George, when you've got, 3 cool things and they're all in different industries, how do you pick the one to focus on?
The one you believe will have the most chance at being recognized, appreciated, and purchased and manufactured and delivered.
Okay.
And you talk to people and you get other people's reactions. I went to many dog parks and talked to people with their dogs and demonstrated it and had them use it. And I got some really cool reactions from people. And that really got me going. Okay.
Yep. And I understand. I mean, I get people say, well, how do you decide which products you're going to work on for licensing? And it basically covers everything you just said.
Sure.
The industry, how easy it to manufacture. Is it a game changer? Is it complicated where you've got to have, all the software done and all the hardware done, and then it's got to be sold to a car manufacturer, as opposed to the consumer. So we look for consumer products because that opens up your base. And,
Correct.
Is it something that can be sold at, Target, Home Depot, that kind of thing? Or is it, something that's got to be sold in a hospital? All right. So, and as soon as I say that, I can think of exceptions of the things that we've done. But the whole idea for an inventor, especially when you say, well, I've got all these ideas, I say, put them into 3 categories. If you are an expert in a category, so if you're a dog groomer and you come up with a new dog product, dogs, you're considered an expert in that area. If you've got a whole bunch of products that are in one industry, like David Streen's got several that are in the automobile accessory area and automobile tools, that kind of thing. Well, that's a sweet area for you. And then the other ones are just all over the place in all kinds of different industries. And then you pick the one that is there one that is a game changer in a particular industry that's got a good base of buyers.
Right.
So that's what we look at when I'm trying to help an inventor decide what makes the most sense. And then I get to call them on a regular basis and say, what have you done this month? What are you working on? How do we move this along? And it makes a difference. I get a lot of inventors that say, oh, my God, if you weren't doing this, I would get sidetracked with life. Life gets in the way for everybody.
I've always been an inventing kind of person, okay? And I've worked in a lot of different jobs that had nothing to do with inventing, like being a clerk in a grocery store, working for a power company, and the list goes on. Finally, I got my degree, got a job in aerospace, and now it's all about design and figuring out problems and looking forward to going to work because you met with people who had ideas and the government that had a need, and it was up to us to come up with the solution. And it was a design or some product, some thing that would solve their problem. And it was always interesting because there's a lot of travel involved and talking to everything from scientists that worked on, the space program or general engineers, and it was just really, really fascinating. And I've met a lot of people.
So tell us about your flag product.
Okay, the easy flag. Okay, what I saw and what I loved is I made a prototype. I want to put this, and what it enables you to do is get a person off of a ladder. You don't want to go up a ladder to put a flag up, especially if it's windy or rainy or something like that, because you can fall and get hurt. Bottom line is, this ratcheting flag bracket allows you to put your poles right up into the bracket, and then with a stick, you could just rotate it up to 3 different levels up high, and then you could just bring it back down without ever getting on a ladder. And that was the whole idea. Safety, simplicity, and like that. And then what really made a difference is I was doing it just practicing on my garage, and the lady across the street said, "Where did you get that? I want that." She saw it right off the bat that it took her off of a ladder. And she was a lady in her 80s, and she liked her flags. And this product she saw right away as something that would resolve that problem.
Excellent.
Having to get up on a ladder.
So you're taking the Easy Flag to ASD, and you are taking Quick Leash to ASD.
Yes, I am.
Excellent. And are you taking Hat Track to ASD?
I could bring that. Yes. Why not? Why not?
Why not?
It's easy.
Bring them all. You never know, right?
That is right.
So we are getting ready to take a break, everyone. We have got to go and pay some bills. So stick with us because David has got a whole list of different ideas, and he's going to tell us how he learned to focus. So stick with us, America. We've got some cool ideas to bring your way. Hey, America, thanks so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. And this segment is brought to you by Liberty Tabletop by Cheryl Manufacturing, America's only flatware made in the USA. And we are so proud of the fact that they are made in the USA. So when you want something that's made in the USA, go to Liberty Tabletop and order your tabletop products there. And we're really proud of him because Greg Owens is not only the owner of Cheryl Manufacturing, he's also the host of the Third Hour, but, you know, yay, go Greg. So our next guest is David Durfee. He has got a ton of ideas. He is also going to the ASD Market Week with us. He's got a product called PopSocket. He has also got the coolest shovel I have ever seen. And we can't wait to get that one out there. And then a raised garden bed that I thought was really cool as well. So, David, tell us a little bit about your products and then tell us how you focus because these are different industries and they are really, really cool.
Okay. Yes. As far as focusing, one of the things that George said that I liked that I just wanted to say something about is how, and I think you just said it, I do have a lot of different products in a lot of different, let's say, market type situations in different markets, whether it's consumer, industrial, whatever, medical. So one of the things that in the questions that you've asked is how do I stay focused? How do I organize? And one of the things that I thought about that I had forgotten before is when over the years, when I would first come up with an idea, you get excited, okay? And it's like adrenaline takes over and you think, oh man, this is a great idea. So what I started doing is writing down the ideas, a list, okay? And then maybe wait a couple weeks and then look at them again. And a lot of times there were certain ones it's like, man, I must have been in a certain kind of mood because this isn't that great anymore. that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. So you scrap it. So, and the one thing that George said about people and part of the process of figuring out what to move on is to show it to people, talk to people about it. And sometimes, like George mentioned that there were some people, I think he said foreign, that said they weren't interested, But what I have found over the years is so many times that it can be just that moment where somebody will say, oh yeah, whatever, they'll act disinterested and you'll take it personally or whatever. And you'll say, oh, that's no good. That idea is no good. But I found through the years that isn't always the case. It's, you got to really check it out. You got to show it to more people. You've got to talk to people and reason it all out yourself and then make those decisions on whether you move forward or not. And it seemed like
you're right. I mean, I get inventors that will show me their products and I have got different invention products all over the house, in my purse, in the car that I use on a regular basis. And then I've got other ones. It's like, cool product. I just don't need it. And then there's some that, we've taken back and forth to shows, and I don't need those. And then there's others like a shovel that, folds into a hoe that I'm thinking, how soon, David, are you going to get this thing done? Because that one I want. I had to go down and rake rocks the other day, and I took a shovel, just like the one you showed me, and a hoe. And if I'd had your shovel, I would have only needed one tool. But where I live out here in the forest, I use a lot of things I never thought that I would use when I was living in the city. And very cool because, there's a lot of things out there that you don't, they're cool products, but not every consumer needs them.
Right, exactly. Yep, I agree. But as far as what I'm taking, the shovel, which I call the angle lock because of what it does with the heads that change, you can quick change the heads, and then you can angle the heads to do a lot of different things, just like with the round point shovel, as you saw the video, and it's like, okay, you can use it, what I call conventional, where you shovel, where you push the shovel into the dirt or whatever with your foot, but then you can use it as a trenching tool, as a pick, as a hoe, by the different angle that you put it at. And then same thing with the snow shovel and the transfer shovel and all those things that quick change onto it. But then you can angle that, the head that you put on at different angles, which now makes things a lot easier. Like you said, you can take one piece of equipment or, one head, and you can be doing a lot of things with it. One of the things that this is going to have also is a carrying thing that all the heads will snap onto, so you can put it in your little trailer behind your four-wheeler or whatever, if you're going to go out and garden. And now you've got all the heads with you that you can now change quickly. So the other thing that I'm thinking, now we can't, like the PopSocket, we can't really call it a PopSocket because PopSocket is a company that, matter of fact, they have big time protection on that name. But what I call the one is called a grip shield, but what it does is it makes a PopSocket work better. So there's problems with the PopSocket product. And actually the guy that owns PopSocket, he's worth about $800 million. He's made out unbelievable on that product line. I think I mentioned to you, I tried to sell him these just recently, these products, but he doesn't even want to talk. And that's like what George was talking about. That may just mean that he's an invented here only company, which I asked him that, and he kind of said he was. But maybe other people that are in that industry would love to have this product line or, license. Like that's what we're going to do out at the show,
That's not unusual that the company you think that should be wanting it the most is the least likely to take it. So who wants to then have that kind of product to compete against them? And a lot of times we're going for the second layer because the first layer is saying no, and don't have time for it, where they really should be focused because you just never know where something else is going to come along.
Well, hopefully maybe they're going to kick themselves someday. I got a feeling they are, because the people that know about the PopSocket, the one that they have, you have to pull it out. You have to pull the knob out and then use it, and then you got to push it back. With the other one, the second version of the PopSocket improvement, what it does is actually there's just a button you push and it pops out. I mean, that sounds more like a PopSocket to me than a pole socket, whatever. Anyways, and then the upper garden thing is, this is the first part of it. I call it upper gardens, and it's where you walk up in and you have aisleways, people that have problems walking or, have health issues. This thing's going to really improve, but it's not just for that, it's for anybody. And it keeps critters out of the garden, because you walk up, the floor is 18 inches off the ground, and there's a door you open, you go in, and there's aisleways, and then the garden's at your waist, about 32 inches high, and there's going to be greenhouse covers for it, as well as an awning that you just push a button and it comes over top. So you want to go out someday and and it's raining and you don't want to get wet, so you just hit the button and you've got a roof over you. So
very cool. Very different types of products that you've got. It's always amazing to me when I talk to inventors that have they're really cool ideas in multiple industries. So we are looking forward to having you with us at ASD Market Week as well. So everyone, we are getting ready to wrap up this segment. Stick with us. We are back with our industry expert, David Streen, who's been there, done that, and successfully is out there selling products. And he's got a very cool way of analyzing how he picks one over the other. So stick with us, America. We will be right back after we pay some bills.
Tired of struggling just for your customers to notice you? Your business needs Constant Contact. Constant Contact's award-winning marketing platform has helped millions of small businesses stand out, stay top of mind, and see big results. With powerful tools like email, SMS, social media, and events, you'll say the right thing at the right time to sell more, raise more, and fast-track growth. Plus, everything's backed by Constant Contact's expert live customer support. So get going and growing with Constant Contact today. Try it free at ConstantContact.com.
Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us for this segment of Invent America. And this segment is brought to you by Bond Products, the do-it-yourself carpet binding where there is only one Instabind. And this is a really cool product. You've got rugs that are fraying. This is your product, bondproducts.com. This segment, we always look at having an industry expert with us. So Mr. Dave Streen with EdgyTools is going to tell you a little bit about what he's got, what he's done. And Dave, how do you focus when you've got that many products?
So, hi, Rita. First of all, thanks for having me on. I get so excited when I see you guys invite. So I appreciate it. I wish I knew then what I know now, and I've brought over 100 products to market. I wish I was just telling you, hey, I've only brought one, but it was the right one. The more products you start adding, the more diluted your focus gets, your resources, time, attention, money, everything else. So I used to I had an idea, I brought it to market, and I test the market, which luckily I did that at the beginning because some of the ones that I thought were going to be duds wound up winning me awards and being the leaders. So what I think is going to be hot often isn't, and vice versa. So there's a Warren Buffett quote that the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. So now what I do is just like Michael said earlier, I make a list. I've got a notebook that all my ideas come right out of my head and I write them down, clears up my thoughts and whatever. And then I look for those, and I almost play like the Shark Tank TV show in my head. If I could only back one, which one would it be? And a lot of times I'll narrow it down to the top three and then really think about those three and stuff. But I'm much slower and much more intentional now with selecting.
David, let me jump in here right quick. I need to ask you this, though, just for my frame of mind as I listen to you. What do you think would be a good idea that maybe timing means everything? So say that idea you wrote down today, you shouldn't, because I heard somebody said just a little while ago, well, I squashed it. I don't think any idea should be squashed. I think you should just put it on the back burner because timing is everything. How many times you've seen something, this won't work now, and then a couple years later, whoa, I'm glad I didn't do this because now the necessity is there. It might be a failure today, but it might be a success tomorrow. So I know I'm interjecting here, but I think it's an idea that you should never squash it. I don't care if you had it 10 years ago and review it. Maybe, every now and then, once a year, just review it and say, you know what? I've seen this and somebody came up with this, that I can do this. I'm just spitballing here.
I completely agree. And I actually have a product that was one of my earliest products that I tried to bring to market, and it was just too soon. The industry wasn't there. They didn't understand where I was going. And it was just, and now over a decade later, I'm seeing some things like it. And I think, hey, if I launch that now, it'd probably be a really good seller. And I can make it more affordably and better now. I know so many things and so many relationships and everything else. So, yeah, you're exactly right. I would never say this is gone, eliminate it. I've got that. And I think you quoted, that if an inventor has 14 ideas, last time I counted, I had over 400 in my notebook. So
it's, we'll get inventors that'll do a search and they'll find something where the patent was issued decades ago, but it's the product never made it to market because they couldn't make it yet at a price the consumer would pay. Yep. And then technology catches up to it and somebody says, oh, let's do this. And they go, you can't do it like that because, that patent was filed decades ago. And they go, but it never made it to market. There's a reason. Consumer is God when it comes to pricing. And so when we're looking at products, it's like, can you make it at a price the consumer will pay? Because if they're not going to pay for it, then put it on the shelf, wait until later, till technology catches up.
Exactly.
Let me ask you something, David, on this. Just give me a little your opinion on this, and maybe you don't use this practice. But the practice that I'm talking about is that I know we're talking about new ideas. What is your take on old ideas that you can make it better? Because people don't realize that you can take it, as long as you don't reproduce what's there, but you can patent or something to make the technology better. What is your view on that? Because people pay both ends of this. You know what I mean?
If you like shortcuts of making money, that's a great way. It took a long time to realize that. Yeah. I always thought my ideas had to be completely original, way outside the box thinking. And now I realize, no, a little tweak on something great becomes incredible. That's all it takes sometimes. And sometimes you can work with the original inventor.
And that's the point I want to make. That's right. You can work with the original inventor. Yeah. That's point. Because, half of something is better than 100% of nothing. You know what I mean?
Yep. Absolutely. It's like, the guy that invented the flashlight that wraps around the pole is really cool. Still a light coming out of the end of the stick, but now it wraps around the pole so you don't have to hold the flashlight in your mouth. And I think that was really cool. But, hey, it's just an improvement on something that's been out there forever.
Yep.
Yeah, like the guy who came up with WeatherGuard. I know I'm giving them some plugs and they don't sponsor our show, but the guy, I looked at my cup holder every day as you get in your vehicle, and I'm holding with my cell phone in my hand, and people have this cell phone clip that came on the dashboard way before the cell phone cup holder. And I'm thinking about the other day, wow, the guy that just came up with a cup to put it in a holder to keep your cell phone. That's what I'm talking about here. Like, okay.
Yep. Well, Dave, we want to give you a chance to plug your company and your product. So tell everybody what you do and where to find you.
So my company is EdgyTools, EDGY, like you haven't had your coffee yet. Tools, plural with the S on the end. And I'd like to offer a free gift. So if anybody goes to freeinventbook.com, they can get a free digital download of my book. So
excellent.
Or they can get a free actual copy, just pay shipping and handling. But your tools are basically in the category of? They're automotive paintless dent repair. So it's for the professionals, not your do-it-yourselfers that are taking dents out of cars.
Excellent. Excellent. Dave, thanks so much for being with us today as our industry expert. And everyone, we will be back with new inventors, new topics. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season.